The Shepnaz podcast begins now.
You're listening to the Shepnaz podcast, a podcast at Shepherd Church. Everything we do here is to help people take their next step toward Jesus, and this podcast is part of that. We want to help you engage daily in your faith, and we hope that you take this and use it, share it with a friend, and that you would get closer to Jesus each and every day. Today, my guest is Karen Moss. She is a member here at Shepherd. She serves on our online team, and we're gonna have a conversation with her about that, but also get to know her a little bit and see how you could get involved as well. So, Karen, welcome. How are you?
I'm good today.
We often say that you are our number one fan of the podcast. I think that, I don't know the stats, but I'm confident you are one of the very few who've probably listened to just about all of it.
I've listened to all but one.
And
that's because I'd already heard it, the sermon.
Oh, yeah. See? See, look at that. She is super fan. We didn't make a t-shirt, but we should have.
You should have.
So Karen, I'd love for people, before we get into what you do, I think it's more important that people get to know who you are, because it's who you are that is what makes you who you are, not what you do for Shepherd. So I'd love to kind of hear a little bit about you, maybe your family, how you came to be involved at Shepherd, how you came to know that this was even a church, and kind of how long you've been attending and your experience here.
Okay. Well, I've been attending all my life. My family all came to Shepherd. My parents grew up here, and all my grandparents came. So it was sort of a given I was going to go to Shepherd Church of the Nazarene. But I became a Christian when I was about 4 years old. And then I became a Christian again and again and again, of course.
Yeah.
So when I went to Mount Vernon, actually before that, when I was about 12 years old, it started to make sense what it was to be a Christian. We were worshiping at Jefferson Elementary. We hadn't moved into this church yet. And then as I matured in my faith, and I went to Mount Vernon Nazarene University, which was college at that time. And I remember just sort of trying to be a Christian, and it was really hard sometimes. And I remember the day that I said, I can't do this anymore. You're going to just take over for me. And that was a real change in my life. So except for when I went to college, I've always come here. And I guess that's it.
Man, I'm willing to bet that there have been times in your life where you're like, man, I don't have a very good testimony, But I'll tell you what, that is an incredible testimony of a faithful church and a faithful family. It's the best testimony to be able to say, I'm here because my family was here, and I'm here because this church loved me all through that. And I'm telling you, we've had a lot of people on the podcast who've been here for long seasons, but I don't know that we've had anybody here on the podcast that maybe once remembers before this property.
Right.
That's incredible.
Definitely.
So you've seen a lot.
I've never gone to the first on Dartmouth Avenue, but the one on Fifth Avenue, they moved in probably the Easter before I was born.
But you've seen a lot here at Shepherd.
Of course, I had stories from my mom about the other building.
And you can say with confidence that Shepherd's best days are still ahead of it.
Oh, always.
Yeah.
Always.
That's awesome.
And we always have to have faith.
Yeah.
Because I've served on the church board, and we've come to places where people say, we shouldn't do this because it costs too much money. But I've been on the church board, and I've gone to this church, and you know what? We've never run out of money, ever.
God's been faithful.
Yes, he's very faithful. Yes.
Yeah. So then I think it's even more interesting that you've been a part of Shepherd for so long, yet you have really been an early adopter at our online campus, which is a great testimony as well. Let's talk a little bit about our online campus and how kind of your role there. And if you don't know, you're listening or watching this podcast, so you might have a clue that our services are streamed every Sunday online, and people hundreds of people literally join us and worship with us each and every week. And one of the tools that we use for that is to create a good community is what we call, well, we don't call it, it is called Altar Live. We didn't make that up. Altar Live, and it's kind of the platform that we use to stream our services. And you serve on that team as a host. Tell me about what is the role of a host, and why is that an important job?
I think it's important because when people log on, I think it's really important that they're welcomed. And I think I always want them to know that they're welcome. We talk to them. Some of them, I don't think, pay attention to what we say, but that's okay because our job is to welcome them and to interact with them. If we know that they've been sick or out, we might say something about that if we don't think it would bother them. And actually, working with Altar Live is really easy. So if anybody ever wanted to do it, just hop on. I mean, it really is very easy. I log in in the mornings on Sunday, and it's just like talking on Facebook or whatever because it's a chat, and I just do my chats and chat with people. Scott Winfield does. He chats with me. He's another host or greeter, and we just talk to the people. We have little buttons that we push when it's time to give money, or if it's time to pray, or it's time to greet. Scott just touches a little button and the message comes up.
Yeah.
So it's very easy. Actually, though, I've been during COVID. My family used to make fun of me because I went to lots of churches online just to have something to do. And I noticed that some churches have more than one greeter, and we have 2 in the first service, but some of them have 3 or 4, so you can't have too many.
Yeah.
I mean, you cannot have too many
people. If you
people.
think about how many people, if you come in person, how many people's hands do you shake? You shake a lot of people's hands. And so there's no limit really to it. And so what we do with our online hosts like Karen is, a problem is that people can't come in person. So a solution is, okay, we can provide online. But then the next problem happens is that there's a potential that you lose community, you lose warmth, and you lose these things. And so our answer to that is to have people like Karen and Scott to be able to be that warmth, be able to be that familiar face. Because when you walk into church and it's your home and you see that one familiar face, it kind of sets you on the right track for what that is going to be. And that's what we're doing with that. And so it is a great job. It's an important job, and it is something that you could do. And so Karen plugged it, but seriously, if you're like, I want to get involved, and maybe you do worship with us online, you could be that. You don't have to come in person to have a role in the kingdom of God. You can do that online. And so if you want to know more about it, if you want to get involved, you can email us, podcast@shepnaz.org, and we will get you hooked up with the tech team and with online hosts and get you in that role. And then you and Karen can be buddies.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd love that. Actually, I don't think anybody has ever really, I guess a couple of times we've taken advantage of this, but with Altar Live, as you log on, you can take a seat. It looks like a little theater.
Yeah.
And you can take a seat, and there's 4 in each row. If you sit down next to somebody in that row, you could talk to them. You actually could turn on your camera and talk to them, but
yeah. And if you attend 50 weeks in a row, we send you a VR headset so that you can see them. We don't do that. So but that'd be great.
Yeah, I always think it'd be good if you have a family member that lives in another state or something. You could actually worship together. Just sit down together and chat with each other.
I didn't know that was a function, but it's because I usually take the back seat where nobody is.
Oh,
but now I know that I can sit next to somebody.
And you can turn on your camera. You can talk to them.
Interesting.
But we really haven't taken advantage of that. But it could be a good thing, especially if we ever, which I hope we never have another.
Well, I've been listening to Pastor Rob's sermons long enough that I like to play a game and guess what the blanks are.
Me too.
And so I could do that if I sit next to somebody. We can have a little game.
It would be great.
So
yeah.
Well, hey, let's take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about something that's coming up that's very important, that is actually a big piece of our online ministry. So stick around. We'll be right back.
The first Tuesday of each month is our monthly prayer gathering, Ignite. But this Tuesday is Election Day, so we have moved Ignite to Monday, and we'll gather to pray for our elections, our communities, and our families. November 19th is Baptism Sunday, and we already have several people who have reached out to us to let us know that they want to take that step. Are you ready to explore baptism? Visit our website's upcoming events page to learn more. That same Sunday will be Thanksgiving Sunday, and you will have a chance to hear testimonies from our Shepherd family. If you would like to submit a video testimony, visit shepnaz.org.
All right, welcome back. Karen is still here. We've talked about Altar Alive and how she's one of our online hosts and how important that role is to help people feel warm and they are greeted and so that they feel like they're a part of a community still. Something that's coming up is something we do every year and we're excited about it. It's our Thanksgiving Sunday, and that happens on November 19th. And what this is it's a Sunday that's dedicated. The idea behind Thanksgiving is that you would give thanks. And so it's a Sunday that's dedicated into testimonies to testify to the goodness of God and what he's done for us. And so we're also gonna have baptism that week. But one of the things that you could be a part of is we want to know what God's done for you. We want to know the things that God has done in your life. If you have a testimony, why don't you just share that with us? And you can do it. You can record it on your phone. You can record it on an iPad. Or if you've got a fancy podcast studio in your house, then you could do it there. And you can upload it at shepnaz.org/testimony. And then what we're going to be able to do is we're going to be able to share that on November 19th. And people like Karen, who are going to be working with our online community, they're going to be able to see it too. And then she'll be able to have conversations with people, and you'll be able to experience all these different stories of the goodness of God, and that's coming up. Do you have anything? You've been around Shepherd. Thanksgiving Sunday has become sort of a staple around here. Do you remember anything that that just kind of sticks out, like why we think that that's an important Sunday still?
Well, it is Thanksgiving, so it's good to be thankful. And I know of all the things that we've done, I've heard a lot of feedback from people about how they enjoy the Thanksgiving testimonies. So it's important that you upload your testimony so that you can be a part and share that with other people.
Mm-hmm. And listen, if you don't want to upload it, that's okay. We actually have opportunity that Sunday you could do it in person too. If you like to grab the mic, you can. We're happy for that to happen too. So before we end today, you mentioned you had hosts in the first service. Mm-hmm. It was
Scott Winfield.
And then the second service
is Sarah Bowser.
And
Tim Swanson usually is.
And Pastor Tim jumps in there, and Pastor Tim has been a huge proponent of our online campus and has fought for it in amongst our staff. Not that anybody ever fights against it, but Pastor Tim has always been very much like, this is important. He's always been kind of on the forefront of making sure that the online campus continues to be a priority. And so he's on there in the second service. And once again, if you're looking for a place to kind of jump in and serve, but you're not able to be here on Sunday, or you could actually be here on Sunday, because sometimes Karen or even Tim, they'll sit in the back at the sound booth and worship in person while also hosting. And so you don't have to miss out on in person if you don't want to either. So there's all sorts of ways that you can serve at Shepherd. So, well, Karen, we're so thankful for you. And we do appreciate your dedication, but we also appreciate your encouragement. You don't know this because you don't see the emails, but Karen's an encourager, and she lets us know, and God uses her in that way in our lives. So we're thankful for you. Thanks for coming on today. Thanks for taking some time out. That's going to wrap up our episode today. We're so thankful for you for listening. If this has been helpful to you, we'd love for you to share it with a friend. If you're looking for a place to serve, you can do that. If you have any questions or comments, you can get a hold of us, podcast@shepnaz.org. Of course, you can find out all that's happening at Shepherd, Thanksgiving Sunday, all these different things that are coming up through our website, social media, of course, our app. We're so thankful for you for listening. For Karen, I'm Joey. Have a great day.
This podcast is a production of the Shepherd Church of the Nazarene, Gahanna, Ohio. Email to podcast@shepnaz.org and let us know what you think.